Okay.
Okay, I call the November 8th, 2023 meeting of the Trees and Greenery Committee to order. We have the minutes of the October meeting, and I know we have a couple of comments on those. Michael?
Not that it would affect the outcome, but I would like the records to show that the Silver Maple at 88 Lincoln Avenue, my vote was not to remove. It won't change the outcome.
I was thinking maybe we should revisit that.
Me too, because
Do we have a motion to revisit that particular?
We will,
are we allowed to do that?
yeah, we'll just.
I'd like to
adjust the,
revisit that.
You voted.
You're not changing your mind, it just wasn't reflected properly.
Again,
Oh, on
on Zoom,
The
Michael.
minutes are changing him. I'm saying I want to revisit the decision to remove it. And I think someone voting in the positive can make that motion, which is Deb.
I'd like to revisit the Silver Maple on Lincoln.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor? So we'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
And I think there's just a little typo, the ABVC buildings, it's just a little, it's ABC. There was a V put in the middle. It doesn't change anything, but just a,
In that.
Showed that I
context, I'd like to know that I just asked Peter when the sewer separation project took place along that stretch of Lincoln. And it was, according to Peter, around 20 years ago. So the fact that the tree has no crown dieback back whatsoever after 20 years, I think says a lot.
We have, not that we can obviously revisit more in detail next month, but we have pretty much pruned that tree every single year. So not, and again, not to, but I just wanted to put that out there and let you know. Yeah.
How did you vote? Because it said you voted not to remove in the minutes.
I can't remember, unfortunately.
I
Yeah.
can't remember.
Let me, yeah, but I'm more than happy to revisit it for sure.
Yeah.
And it's well worth the conversation. So
Okay, so that takes care of the minutes.
Sorry, one question. Do we have to notify the weather
I will,
that we're gonna?
for 88 Lincoln. Yeah, I'll repost it and I'll
Okay.
reach out to the homeowners and let them know.
Okay.
Thank you. Tree removal request, end of Marjorie Street for a sewer lift station. That's pretty straightforward. Any,
One comment or one other suggestion, there's a multi-stem elm just behind there. I don't know if that needs to be included or not, but if nothing else, it's got a huge hanger in it.
Okay.
Are you doing the removal?
No, it would be, it would not be done by Public Works. It would be
Okay.
contracted out as part of the construction project.
So just,
I
just
understand.
either throw the elm in the mix. It's only about a 10-inch diameter elm, but
Okay.
it's got a 20-foot long hanger in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
What,
No problem.
what does other historic site details weigh on this decision as well? What
Yeah,
does
so
that
just,
mean?
so Eric Fielder, who is not here today, Fiedler, excuse me. Just, we were talking about, so that site, you can see, I'm not sure who all went out, but sort of where that, and we're talking specifically about the Willow at this point. It's sort of in this manufactured embankment, and they raised the grade
Mhm.
back there. And it does look like a lot of that area is buried. I was told that that was done sometime in the 70s. So the fact that this tree has been sort of hanging in there for this long with that kind of grade change and all that material built up along the base of the tree, I just don't think it will, in my opinion, based on where all those utilities are going in and how deep they're gonna have to go and how wide they're gonna have to make that area and all the work that they're gonna do, I just don't think that tree will withstand that kind of damage. And then in addition to the fact that this tree has probably been there since before the 70s when all this grade changing was occurring, it just doesn't
Okay,
seem right to me to keep have it be a liability for that project.
the grade changing actually took place probably in the 40s, despite what a soil scientist for a landowner in the area said.
Hmm.
There was wetlands at least going back to the 40s and beyond. But anyway, tree removal request, Marjorie Street, have a motion to recommend removal.
So moved.
Second,
Yep,
Mayor
second.
Peter, seconded by AJ, all in favor.
I,
Right.
78 Coakley Road,
So this
Um,
tree was put on my radar, earlier this.
Hold on one second,
sorry.
Mr. Chairman, there's a person,
Oh.
Elise would like to talk. Are we entertaining
sure.
input at this point? Ellis? Can you hear us?
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead.
Hi. Yes, my name's Elise Krosky Carlson and I live at 51 Marjorie Street. I'm the last house on the right as you're going down the street. And our house has, our family has lived here since 1980. And the trees are in good condition. I'd like to respectfully ask you guys to change your minds about removing them. I know that the pump station is very important. I know there has been a lot of dispute with Toyota, but I have a few issues to bring up. For one thing, the trees soak up an enormous amount of water, and I believe that that is wetlands back there. There's skunk cabbage, there's a lot of wildlife that lives there, and that has been slowly, well, actually kind of rapidly in the last few years being chopped down, primarily on weekends or on holidays when the city has not been able to enforce. Suddenly you'll hear, trees being cut on the other side of the woods, and you look out, and now from where we live, we can see Route 1. Route 1 can see my house. There's an enormous, it was a nice sound buffer before from the highway, but now we have that, all that noise. We have all the, light pollution. And so going back to the water issue, though, the willow specifically, I have, heard different amounts. I've heard that they can soak up, 100 gallons of water a day, 200 gallons of water a day. If you cut down those trees, where's that water going to go? I'm thinking it's probably going to go into my cellar. We already have water issues in the cellar as it is because we live in a wetland area. So I'm wondering, the trees have been determined that they are in good condition. Maybe we could just trim them back a little, see if it's problematic. Perhaps even if you extended a few feet from the tree roots, that would be a good answer to that problem. I spoke with the city about a year and a half ago to the engineer, and I was assured that the trees were going to be saved. I even walked up to the guy that was out there looking, and he's like, well, we'll try and save the trees. I received a phone call, and they said, yes, the trees would be saved. And I was glad. But then I think it was Friday, some notices were just tacked up on the trees. Nobody informed the homeowners down here, from what I've been able to understand, except for that. And now, our beautiful trees are going to be gone. So there's with this chopping down, I know progress is big with the city, but we have down at the end of the street, really enjoyed having the woods. That's one of the reasons that, my family moved here in 1980. So there's a storm drain also that was extended at one point after we moved here, and it is into the woods beyond the rock barrier. I don't think anybody has even tried to do much with that, but that has to be addressed as well. With that storm drain, even there, we have water issues. So I'd like to, respectfully request that, you save our woods. And the sewer system, I understand, you feel it must go in, okay, but just save some of the trees for us. And I don't know who was harvesting the wood and selling it or whatever on the other side.
Thank you very much. Let's have the city arborist talk about exactly what the scope on Marjorie Street is of this particular request.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wish Eric Fiedler was here to do it better than I could, but my understanding is that underground utilities are going to be installed, entrenched out in that critical root zone for both of those trees. So the willow, in addition to the maple back there as well. So when that occurs, it is an incredible liability to keep a tree with that amount of root damage in place. If we didn't remove it, we'll see that tree decline and then slowly just become an even greater hazard over time. Same goes for that maple back there. It's literally within a couple feet of the base of that tree, and that's just way too close and into that critical root zone. And that's just gonna, again, just to go over one more time, it will be an incredible liability if we allow those trees to stay. So that's a liability to the new pump station, the infrastructure, and then also, you know, the Marjorie Street completely. So that is
But
the
what
big,
about the liability to my home? Like, you know, you're going to be, the storm drain isn't even sufficient there for drainage.
So
The
this,
berm that was put in isn't sufficient. You take out those trees, who's gonna soak up the water?
we appreciate your concern and we will be making sure the storm drain is functional. The area is going to get regraded and we will replant trees in the area. Willows, you know, if that is the preferred tree, we can put additional trees in there. The concern is really, you know, we could leave the trees there, go through and they'll just fall right over because we cut all the roots out. And we've done that in the past and it is, you know, you want to have a controlled removal versus an uncontrolled removal. And this would be, you know, you put yourself in the situation where, you know, somebody could be nearby or something and something could drop on them. And that is not a liability that we want to take. We
So,
will,
okay,
we will do restoration. We will add additional trees back and we will address that drainage.
do you think that do you think that if you're going to replant trees, would you take into consideration perhaps some fast growing ones that would help create a nice evergreen barrier or something so that we do have a little bit of blockage from the Toyota dealership
Absolutely.
Yep.
and maintain our pretty view of some sort, just something that grows fast, soaks up a lot of water?
I appreciate the challenges that the work across the way has been to you all.
Oh, well, thanks. Thank you. And thank you for your time this morning.
I get it. You know, it's a real problem.
Thank you, Elise. There's a Robert Smith on the list of people on, wasn't there?
Robert, did you have something you wanted to say as well, or?
Thank you.
All
thank
right.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elise.
No hand up, no.
Okay.
All right.
So we have,
CBA Coakley.
we take a
So-
vote on that last one?
Yes, we
did.
took a
Okay.
vote, so motion
Okay,
stays.
Coakley,
Yeah.
shown it in the pictures.
Yeah, so 78 Coakley, so this tree was put on my radar this past summer. It's an ash tree. It's essentially in the property between Coakley and Borthwick, so a very remote, wet location. Very difficult even for me to get back there. Anyway, so this tree will be removed via crane if we go this route. But there's essentially two major stems. One's incredibly weighted toward the homeowner's property and it's right above their shed and deck in their garage. And so I did include the photos for you all to reference. There is a seam that's running between those two leaders. So that tells me failure, you know, could be pretty imminent at this point. Yeah, I just never having seen this tree before and not necessarily understanding the site, it could have been that way for a very long time, and seeing that separate is a little worrying for me.
Any
So,
questions for Max? Do we have a motion to recommend removal? Michael?
Yes, I will make that motion.
I'll second it.
By Deb, any
Open for
questions?
discussion.
Yeah,
The place is a jungle. Whose
Yeah.
trees are whose, and
so
is the property owner willing to clean up his edge?
so by the time I had actually seen that tree, all of that was already there. And I believe the individual who put this on my radar is the new homeowner. So,
Ah.
and this is not necessarily, you know, not to pick on this one person, but that's everywhere. Like if I have to go and look at a tree that's right beyond someone's fence line, I'm going to run into all their leaves and grass and yard clippings. So, that's just a part of it, I suppose. But yeah.
okay, we have a motion, any discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
85 Aldrich.
Yes, so again, a homeowner request, where we are recommending, this maple had a significant leader tear out, so we're just following up, we actually did a retrenchment prune on this in 2020 where we take like 10 feet of that tree and really bring it in. And it had some positive response. The tree had some positive response to that kind of pruning, but the way this limb was attached, it was very included. So it was kind of a matter of time and
Mhm.
with no other sorts of, yeah, I don't know. We're at this point that wound is so large. There are other cavities as well. It's just, yeah, time for removal.
Mr. Chair, Bob Smith has his hand up.
Bob? You want to go ahead?
Can you hear me?
We got-
Yes.
Okay. Well, not sure how all this works. I don't have a question on anything on your current agenda, but I do have a tree that's in my neighborhood that I think needs to be looked at. That's on city property, and it's a pine tree at the corner of McKinley and Garfield. So I don't know what I need to do for the next steps for you. but I just,
Did it, Bob, and the arborist crew will take a look at it in the next, within the next month.
okay, yeah,
And we'll give us your phone number, Bob, so they can get in touch with you.
yeah, 603-205-9046.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Oh,
you.
you're welcome.
And for the general public, Mr. Chairman, if I may, if people are watching and they have questions related to tree removal trees, you can contact the Department of Public Works at 603-427-1530 and ask for the arborist. And he either will get back to you or answer your question right then or get back to you as soon as possible.
Thank you for that public service. and I
Yes,
think-
thank you. Yes, Peter.
So
Go back
do
to
we
all-
vote on?
all-
we-
85, we have not done a.
Okay, do we have a motion to recommend removal?
You did, I did.
Okay, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Open for discussion. The silver maples in this town are taking a beating.
Yep.
Lisa DeStefano's was taken down. 88 Lincoln is back on the agenda. Unfortunately, this poor bugger's gonna go. It's in
But
tough shape.
They've saved a lot of them, I think, on Aldrich.
It's- They've done a lot of work to keep Aldridge Road in its original.
That's so whenever we see a tree, a silver maple that we believe will withstand that kind of pruning, because it is very intrusive on the tree. If we think the tree will withstand, that's our first step. And as I mentioned, 88 Lincoln, we prune that tree pretty much once a year since 2019. We haven't done it this year, but 2020, 19, 20, 21, and 22, we were touching that tree in one way or another. So for what it's worth, that's usually our first line of defense is get a retrenchment, get a really heavy prune on that tree done, and then we'll revisit as we need to. And this is just one of those trees that we have to revisit with a removal.
Are several maples, is that a tree that we would plant in an open space where we're looking for a large tree? Is that still a consideration here in New England? Not
At least
so
what
much.
I've been, maybe some kind of hybrid silver, something that maybe does a little bit better with its ability to seal wounds and keep decay and other sort of structural issues away. But
Silvers were put in when the elms died off.
Yep.
Because they wanted a tree tomorrow.
Yep.
Trees tomorrow, just have a shorter lifespan than other trees.
Okay.
So this cross is, one of the Armstrongs is a cross between a red and a silver.
Mhm.
Grows pretty fast, but still behaves like a red maple, better than a silver. But the silver is, Aldrich is gonna take a beating for the next,
Yeah.
20 years. The advantage with doing this retrenchment pruning is that, extend that life out a little bit. Put some other trees, the tree that we're putting in now doesn't do anything that a big tree can do right now. But by putting in a few other trees scattered around them over a 10-year period, you can stretch out the life of these trees a little bit and get some other ones growing.
Okay.
So it's actually good to take out something like this one on Aldridge.
Yeah.
Gives us some ground back, and try to start plucking them through.
And Dick and I have always supported extending life out a little bit more. On the 85, as we have motion to remove, recommend removal, all in favor?
Aye.
Market Street Greenway near Michael Susi.
so these are just trees that I'd like to have these sites vacant for replanting next year. If we can get our get our stuff together and start doing these removals and stump grindings. They're just, all their central leaders are all dead and crispy, pretty light canopy wise. Yeah, the majority of them have some issues around their base, cracks, other sorts of.
What do you think did them all in?
Well, what's the lesson here? Right, what
Were
can,
these planted as part
are
of
you
the
gonna do
Gateway
better?
project?
think so.
I think it was just poor planting and
Yeah,
just not handled properly.
so it's not the tree chosen, it was more of the installment.
Could be a little
Would
bit,
you
of- could
choose
be a
a
little,
different
Probably, yeah, it's probably a little
trees?
bit of everything, honestly.
I wouldn't put that
Sitting
many
on the
maples
ledge.
back in that area.
Yeah, no, we're not putting maples back in that spot. It's,
Okay.
yeah.
All maples are salt sensitive. Some work, some are completely salt sensitive. Sugar maples would be a tough, but that's gonna get a lot of salt spray, just natural wind air, not stuff that we're putting out on the roads.
Right.
So you put in 2 maples, not, lines of them.
Right,
Well, we did-
And I would bet you those trees were not put in to our planting specs, because that was all done with the contract.
Probably not, yeah.
oh, it was done by a
I
contractor.
recall it
Okay.
wasn't a great install.
that was a great project.
It's a great
was a
project.
Standing me
great
up,
We're gonna,
great public
Yes.
improvement by the
Yeah.
city.
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay, so that'll
So
come
moved.
in front of us again about what your choices would be? Is that, will that happen?
say that again. I apologize.
What you choose to put there will come in front of us again?
Yeah,
that
when I have a list of what we're planting,
Okay.
I'll give you all the list of everything that
Yeah.
we're getting and
I do go to Spinnaker a lot and I sure do enjoy
Sure.
all that greenway. It's fabulous, really wonderful.
All the trees in the median are irrigated and water fed, and
Moved.
they've responded.
Okay, yes.
So moved.
Okay, all in favor? All in favor, recommending removal.
yeah, we got 8 minutes to as much of the same.
Langdon Park, 45 Lincoln.
Yep, so just a tree right out here, ash tree. I've seen some exit holes. The canopy is really dry. Does not look good. It's growing right next to another, I believe it's a maple. So
What
So
about
moved.
that tree next to it?
what about what?
The tree that's next to the ash? That tree looks pretty pitiful.
Yeah, I will
Revisit that? I
Yeah.
don't know. I was like, that one looked worse than the ash personally.
you know what, I got blinders on for a lot of other.
So we'll.
So
I-
ash,
I'll move
yes.
to take the ash down and.
I'll
consider
revisit it,
revisit the
yeah.
other one.
Okay,
I'll add that to
um,
December.
Peter's made the motion, seconded by,
Yep.
directed by the Dick. All in favor?
Aye.
404 Middle Street, Cabot Street,
Well, I'm gonna turn around and be a citizen on this. Talk about
You have
this
to
tree.
recuse yourself.
Just another,
I do have to. recuse
sorry
myself.
to
Yes.
sorry to boil it down, but it's just another ash tree in the
Right.
city with EAB.
Well, I do want to, oh, Peter, I want to share very briefly, that being on this committee has, and having such a intimate cut on my property really does remind me how I look at each tree, that tree is part of our family history.
It's dead.
My kids played underneath
Yep.
that with
So moved.
with the leaves.
I will,
And it made our house a tree house in the second floor. All right, I'm on board, but
I can work with you to get a replant. Like
I
to
appreciate
your.
Deb sent a
idea.
very nice tribute to the tree and to trees in general in the city, and I don't know, everybody are just
I'll send it out to
but,
everyone.
yeah, send it to everybody. Okay, Peter's made the motion, seconded by Michael, all in favor.
Aye.
41 Deer Street,
31.
31, sorry.
31.
31 Dearborn. Yeah, so I know Mike is here. Good morning. We had talked a lot about ownership of tree and all that, but it's such we are going to remove this tree. It's an ash, has EAB. I won't say anymore. It's in rough shape,
Tight quarters.
very tight quarters. But at that point, it's just taking our time, taking small pieces as we go, and that's about it.
It was hard to tell. I didn't see blonding on it, but it was just the canopy was.
Yeah, it
was
was-
leafed out, there was no canopy on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
It is harder.
Those were some of the first trees we inspected in the city down in that area, and then the Planet Fitness building and stuff like that. So they had signs of EAB in them before anything else in the city,
Wow.
because we were going around when Jeff was still on.
Okay, do we have a motion to recommend removal?
It was
Did
just prior
the
discussion.
resident want to speak to this or?
From the back.
No, thank you. I tried to save that tree.
Yep.
The top third of it didn't produce any
It did-
greenery.
Yeah.
And I spent $800 with the insurance company trimming what was over the house. Can I just ask this, is it possible to stump grind out that's left, or? how
It'll
does that work?
probably be a surface grind. Just because of the location of that tree, we'll get it as low as we possibly can.
Yeah.
But we'll revisit that for sure. We typically do our stump grindings after a public tree is removed.
Yeah.
We'll have to figure that out for
Yeah.
sure. So ideally we do, yes,
All right, well, thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you
You're
for
welcome.
coming in.
It's such a sweet street.
I've been there for 58 years. I've done a lot of sweat equity on 2 houses. And there's a lot of rental property on the street where people don't plant nice things
Mhm.
and take care of the landscaping, and I've kind of been the one who has done that.
Well, kudos to you. I can tell.
That's on my backyard.
It
It
is-
my
It
appreciation.
is actually it is very, very nice,
It's
for
had,
sure.
it's had its issues on it.
It has, but if you poke your head in and see my secret garden,
Oh, I haven't noticed it.
I have a badge now. I can do that and you'll.
it's a nice secret.
I
We have
don't
a
think you
motion,
should price the truck
motion to
back.
recommend removal.
Yes.
So
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And since we're the tree committee, a chance to talk about planting trees is welcome, since we're generally here removing them. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Bob Thorson is here, and since we have a 30-minute deadline today, we'll ask you to not put on your planner talk, which might take quite a while.
the band's back.
I got 45 minutes.
We got two. We got two.
The answer is yes, Bob.
We're just proposing to plant a Cousa dogwood at the Plain School. There actually is a photograph of a spectacular tree that was there historically. It was over on the right-hand side as you face the building. But we have been involved with the theater for many years. We actually led the capital campaign, and
Very successful
I
capital
supervised the
campaign.
construction of the renovation of the Plain School. So we're honoring my wife for her birthday. And it was Sue's siblings' idea to plant a tree in her honor. And so we came on this idea of the Pontine School, which of course is owned by the city. And talked to Marguerite Matthews and Greg Gathers, who are the co-artistic directors. They're very enthusiastic about having it. So it sits back about 25 feet from the street and about 25 feet from the building. And we're proposing to put it on the sort of the right-hand side. The water line has been marked and the sewer line has been marked. I don't think gas has yet, so we'll wait for that. We have purchased the tree. We have a planter ready to go.
Awesome.
His name is Chris Waite.
Okay.
Beautiful choice.
Yeah. Thank you.
Beautiful choice.
Thank you. Bob. And it's always a bit incongruous that Bob is so involved with a medium that doesn't involve any speaking. But anyway, do we have a recommendation to recommend this granting of planting of this tree? And thank you, and thank you to Bob.
I recommend that we go forward and accept this
Second.
gift to the city. Thank you. Again, nice choice.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
And a tree in memory of Dr. Jeffrey Clark.
Yeah, so this was put on my radar very recently. There are individuals, specifically Mark Falzone of Scenic America down in Washington, DC, as well as in his words, the Democratic Party of New Hampshire want to plant a memorial tree for Dr. Jeffrey Clark. It's proposed to be somewhere nearby their home on Middle Street, but it's relatively tough to find a good spot for a large shade tree on public property. So it'll just come down to yeah, finding a good location. But we'll likely end up not plant one of our bare root trees for this. We'll end up likely going to Milliken, purchasing a tree, and planting that someplace.
So it's not intended that it would be in front of Martha and Jeff's house.
I don't
It's-
think so, only because it's really, it's pretty,
It's not a lot of space along
Right.
the edge.
yeah, it's very tight down
Get
there.
something that would be large enough with the canopy, you know, to put in Haymarket Square. Is that just too tricky right there? I know watering and.
Yeah,
you would-
that's,
I mean, there's a granite, there's a brick cistern under that area.
Is that right? Okay.
There's a bunch of stuff in that area, so I don't
Yeah.
think it would be easy to dig it up.
Oh,
yeah.
How
put
about,
something
could we consider, maybe that zone in front of the library that we just took down those volunteer trees? That
Yeah.
would be a wonderful
The old-
place.
Which library? The new library or the old library?
New,
No,
Mhm.
yeah,
We
on the
removed,
left-hand side, when you
like
look
six
at it,
right there.
there could be
that's
a
fine.
plant, a big tree there in honor of Jeff and his.
Yeah.
His
My
academic
intent
life.
was to put as many trees as we removed back in, so we can certainly, you know, kind of plan to have that maybe toward the walkway a little bit and standing alone by itself. And then in addition to that, well, no, because there's
Or maybe we could just
there's a locust there.
reconsider the number in lieu, that you get something really mighty and wonderful. I
absolutely.
don't know, it could be
And
more
I
of a
think
conversation.
it'll probably serve us best to find a location where that can support a large shade tree and not kind of cram it into a small right of way.
No.
So that's my
From a
perspective.
procedural standpoint, I think this is different than Sue Thorson's a tree that's being planted for her. In
Mm.
this case, it's actually a memorial, and I would assume, I believe if the city's gonna plan to make a memorial, we have to go to council and have it accepted. So it could be a recommendation to council to accept this, and then we put it onto their agenda. The subtle difference in my mind is Bob came across, it was just planting a tree for her, not just putting a memorial out
Right.
there.
Hmm.
Good point.
That's a good point.
So if with an approval from the Trees and Greenery Committee, then we can move forward to the
right, yeah,
council
we
essentially.
just-
Okay.
Do a quick.
And then we can figure out the logistics and all the fine details later on, I suppose.
Well, we should say where we're gonna do it,
Oh,
but
I
before we
see.
say we're gonna plant it at the library, we should talk to the librarian.
Sure.
Um,
It was just a thought.
yeah, no, I think it's a good suggestion. but
Yeah, I think
just-
Martha and Jeff would love that
Form.
too.
Yep.
We're
Mhm.
not planting till spring.
No, and this will be after, and
It sounds like he's trying to do it.
Yeah.
Right now.
no, and I told him it's probably looking like May, after our 150 trees are in the ground, then we can revisit and go
Did
out.
they suggest a tree?
All they said was some kind of native.
Is this Scenic America, one of the things you see on an obituary page and you say donate a tree? Is this money?
I'm
come
not,
from
su-
that?
I'm not sure, honestly. I know it is a nonprofit that is all about preserving public lands and lands in general,
Huh.
so.
Well, I love that these things come in front of us.
So we motion is to recommend to the council to accept the grant donation of this tree.
Sounds
And
good.
can the record reflect that Dr. Jeffrey Clark was a gastroenterologist, not an astroenterologist?
Well,
Oh, my
Need a
God.
G. You
Smithing.
need a little G in front of that.
You don't get to edit the agenda. That's in the minutes.
How did that happen? Who put this together? Was that?
Doesn't anyone read the minutes?
Oh
I-
my gosh.
Apparently.
Are
not
we,
today.
Gastroenterologist.
do we have
Yeah, look
to?
at that. Well, I think it's just a typo, right?
Yes.
Has to be.
okay, and one last thing, I know we have to leave in 30 seconds, so we
No,
will.
actually, I'm not seeing people show up to the door, so.
Yeah.
I think we should.
Okay. I just wanted
Thank you.
to, because I do read the minutes, I just wanted to know when will we revisit the Richard Ave? Are we revisiting the Richard Ave decision and also the Hillside Drive decision? When will we revisit those?
So additional information relative to Hillside Drive, residents have come forward requesting a sidewalk on the north side of Greenleaf Avenue, which would take that whole row of trees out. So there's probably 4 silver maples along that edge.
Yeah.
And that's exactly where the sidewalk would go.
How did
So,
we leave it last time?
90-day review.
so will that come back in
We were
front of
gonna
us
prove-
with
we were
this?
gonna
We're gonna be,
We're
so
gonna prune the bottom of it and then have a 90 day.
It's already been pruned.
Right.
the CIP process is underway. I anticipate Counselor Bagley is going to make a motion to add that to the CIP.
Okay.
So it would, first you have to appropriate the money, you have to
Mhm.
do the design. We, during the design process, would come back to address that. So I think most likely in 90 days, we'll come back and say, we have a motion from council to do this. We're gonna do it as part of a bigger project. We'll come back and propose the overall approach.
Okay. And then the Richard Ave one, we were going to revisit that, or is that,
Kicked it back to the planning board, I believe.
Yeah,
I
okay,
don't recall.
Well, that was a variance.
that was the
The guy with the
small-
shed with the
small
driveway.
Yeah,
and
that's
thick
how that-
driveway.
I thought we voted to say that was
we denied it.
yeah, because there was the hardship. We deemed it as no hardship.
Right.
Or
That's
well, we
correct.
deemed it as a hardship to us, so it became a hardship for him. So he could go back to the board and say,
Must have gotten it. I think we have heard from him.
yeah. he
I
would've-
can
Okay.
follow up. I have his contact information. I can follow up and include you all come
Okay,
December.
those were just two
Thank you.
things outstanding. And my last thing was that I really appreciated the PR piece about the cemetery trees being worked on by the city and opened up for the public.
They're starting tomorrow.
Yes.
And you know how I love PR
Yeah.
for the trees and greenery community. And it would be
Oh, that
good,
would be a great PR push if you're feeling like PR. Leaf collection has become very problematic because people think of leaf bags as garbage bags. So they put the leaves in, they throw rocks in, they put trash in, and our leaf disposal site is rejecting anything
Ah.
that's trash in it. So our guys are now having to tear the bags open before they deliver them. No garbage in them. So it's historically, we didn't have to worry about it. We swept up the street, we took everything with it, and they didn't care. Regulations have changed for use as compost. They are much more stringent.
uh-huh. And would that be something
great
that we
PR
would
effort.
kick to Monty?
Well, sure, we can do
He
that as
was
well.
talking to you.
I was thinking you.
Monty, I can call him up.
The ground.
Okay, that's
But if people
good.
get it from different sources, and as long as the message is the same, it helps to get it from a couple of different places.
Right, okay.
So the point you were making was the tree removal in the Hall Cemetery starts tomorrow. You're aware of that?
Didn't know it started tomorrow, but great. So
Starts tomorrow, yes.
fantastic.
Yep.
Okay, great.
One other thing, the trees that you spoke of 4 meetings ago on Russell Street and Deer Street have all been tagged. But I don't know who tagged them.
Which,
In Ocean Properties, I contacted them and they have no knowledge of who tagged those trees.
I
Oh,
didn't
yeah, I saw that too. It's not us. I know they
It
do
is.
they're in their own world over there.
I
so
know, it's really, but people get confused and it's really kind of a reflection on the city. It's,
Side or on the other side?
Other side. In between the sidewalk and the parking lot. over
Deer
there.
Street,
So
and
they're
down on Russell
They're
Street.
gearing up to start their project.
It's been put on hold.
The project has.
it'd be nice if those trees could go. They're just a blight.
But I
Oh,
contacted them. They
Did
don't
you?
know who tagged them. And they acknowledge it's their responsibility, so I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it's pretty awful.
Yeah.
They're just so raggedy and just, I don't know. And it does, people don't know the difference between private trees and city trees at times. So,
All the bad ones are private.
right, that's what I thought. Those are private. Okay. And one last thing, since we have a minute, how about
You already
the,
had the last thing, but we got an additional.
E-
last thing.
how about the EAV, those signs, those fabulous
They-
signs? Where
so
are those being
I
posted?
we've
And could I help with that? I could help.
we have some plastic ones that were made to be sort of like lawn standees,
Ah.
but they were printed in not the right format. So instead of them being portrait, they're landscape. Right. So my idea was we would just lag them into ash we've already deemed
Yeah.
removal. So
Great.
yours will get one now that it's on the removal chopping block, and then same with a couple of others downtown. And then also I'm
Good.
going to be buying those folding A-frame standees, having them sort of put up in other spots. So like the recycling center here at City Hall. and
Pickleball court.
Pickleball court. We could probably do that with some of the
Okay,
some of the plastic ones and just zip tie them into the fence or something.
okay.
Talk to Todd
Okay,
Henley before you do that.
absolutely.
Thank you. Nothing else for me.
Mr. Chairman. At the
Yes.
conclusion of last month's meeting, with several items still on the agenda. Do you have an explanation for why you got up and left the meeting?
There was an explanation.
He had an excuse. I'm asking you.
There was someplace I had to be and I thought it was over.
It wasn't adjourned.
2 items left on the agenda. They turned around and you were gone.
We sat here for hours waiting.
Till another meeting came by to get out.
I thought my Zoom connection was like, whoop.
So did we.
No explanation needed. I just wanted to note it.
I did have some explanation, but
You
I
could text
don't
us.
now. I don't have an explanation now. I guess if Dick left and I.
Two peas in a pod. Okay,
Alright.
I
I think, we're about,
move to adjourn.
yeah, I think it does look like people are.
Okay,
coming, so. Alrighty,
Want to follow me or you want to
Yeah.
go to
Thank
his
you all
first?
very much.
I'll
Thank
go to
you.
yours because I don't need to. I've
Max,
seen his.
will there be?
They don't need to
a,
stick to it.
Okay, when
will
you drive in
there
the gate,
be
stop abruptly. I
on
want you to
Griffith
look at that
Street,
sugar
will
maple.